Hi, Chris Parry, President, founder, publisher of Equity.Guru, here with my daily rant. Look, a lot of times the struggle in this business is when you find a company that sounds like everybody else, and the struggle is to make it sound different. Hey, we've got a gold mine, and we think that there's plenty of gold down there. Buy our stock. It can be really difficult to sort of differentiate one team from another, and that often becomes the struggle in promoting a public company, in making people aware. How do you help really tell one company in the same business from another company in the same business? There are some companies where you don't have that problem, and the problem instead is to explain to people who've never heard of what they do. And Verses, VERSES, not US, website is verses.io, is one company like that where the struggle really isn't, are they interesting? It's not, are they good at what they do? The struggle is to explain to the average person what they do, why they do it, why it's necessary. So I'm going to try that here. We've done a lot of work on trying to get the 30-second pitch down on this thing because it's a bit of a struggle. Generally speaking, the company has a very tech-focused, tech-oriented viewpoint of that 30-second pitch. We try not to. So the retail side of things, I'm going to give my 30-second pitch on Versus right now, and hopefully I nail it on the head. There's no question we live in a world of data, right? Everything you do, everywhere you go, someone is collecting data on it, and it goes into a big bucket somewhere, owned by some company or military or government or group, and that information just sort of amasses and amasses and amasses and on servers, and 99% of it never gets accessed, right? It's just there, it's collected, and the reason it never gets accessed is because in order for it to really be useful, you need to use it in concert with other data that is being collected elsewhere, right? GPS information is useless unless it's paired with map information, right? And map information is useless if it can't tell what addresses apply to the maps, as an example, right? So with those three pieces of data brought together in a picture tell you where you are when you're driving. Now imagine that where you are when you're driving is not the thing. Imagine Ford Motor Company and its supply chain and manufacture and distribution is the thing, right? So now you've got a mine at one end of the spectrum supplying metals. You've got rubber plantations supplying rubber. You've got chip components being shipped over from Asia. You've got auto parts being shipped over from all over the place. And they've all got to come together in the one place, be manufactured on a production line where if anything isn't there when it needs to be there, the entire production line stops. This system costs many, many, many millions to build. And if it's not built exactly right, it costs many, many millions more than it should to run. And if it's not being supplied right, it costs many, many, many millions more than it should to keep running. And if the end product is not quite right, it costs many, many more millions in delays, returns, bad reputation. So all of these pieces of information that Ford has to be brought together by individuals. You've got 10,000 people whose job it is to have just one of those lines of information. One guy to watch the shipping lines from Brazil for the tires. One guy to go out to the mine and make sure that there's a consistent supply of steel. One guy to go out to the distributors and say, hey, we've got a shortage of blue. See if you can sell more greens. All of these things that currently are done by a guy with a clipboard and a laptop can be shrunk back into one group of AI cameras at every post, watching what's happening at every part of that process, analyzing, reformulating, figuring out what things could be done better. Where can that machine be moved on the production floor so it's got optimal flow? Why is this line slower than this line? What's happening at the mine? Why isn't there as much nickel coming as there should be? All of these things currently are people-based, and they don't need to be. They can be AI-based. Only if you can take all of those streams of data, plug them all in at one place in a way that is elegant and quick and does things better than a person. Now, that's the struggle, because right now companies will spend millions of dollars on getting one piece of data plugged into another piece of data, where they've got 25, 30, 50, 500 pieces of data that really need to be plugged in. Into Versus. Versus comes along and says, okay, let's look at everything you do, everything you've got. Let's apply real artificial intelligence to it, learn as we go, make the system better as we go. And then the work that's done by then is upfront work, right? It's how do we make this system talk to this system? Once that's happening, Versus steps back and takes a licensing fee till the end of time. And once Versus is done, has got that fee coming in, once they're actually into the system, you can't unplug it easily, right? The company can't just say, you know what, that's been good and all, but we're going to stop doing that now. Please unplug all your systems from our expensive systems. Once you're in, you're in. So the problem with these sorts of companies, generally speaking, is they come in with a great idea, then they go out and try and sell it, and all these Fortune 500 companies have their closed systems. They don't want you in there behind their stuff. They hold everything close to their chest. Well, guess what? Versus is in there. Versus has already got Fortune 500 clients that are using them to make their systems better. They've already passed the early test. Are you a responsible party that we can allow into our most valuable systems? Yes. And you know why? It's because the people behind Versus wrote the book on this stuff. They didn't just write the book on this stuff, they wrote the stuff, right? The application of this was created by them, right? They've set the standard. The world global standard of how this happens was written by the guys behind Versus. Their name is on the technology. So when they go into a company and say, hey man, we'd love to be able to come in here and help you make sure that your supply chain is working at its peak. Hey, we come in here and we'll take your massive warehouse system and make sure that everything is at its actual peak placement. They are believed. They are let in because they are the thought leaders in this space of spatial AI. Let me give you another example. Let me say that you're building a $100 million factory that's going to build these cars, right? So you're going to spend a lot of time and money with looking at the plans and saying, well, where should this machine be? And where should that machine be? And how do we properly put this together so it is the peak possible flow, right? We don't want any bottlenecks. We don't want anywhere where it gets too hot and people can't be around the machines. We don't want to go anywhere where a person has to walk from one side of the factory to the other and back again to do a process. You want everything to be exactly as it should be. And the way to do that is a digital twin. By digital twin, I mean you run your existing factory, you put sensors all over the place, you've got your AI cameras everywhere, noting where everything goes, how everything goes. You take that massive data that you collect, you put it in a virtual setting, you start moving machines around, you run the simulation, you see how it goes until you've used your AI to get the absolute peak layout. Once you've had the virtual peak layout, then you go build it in real time without any surprises. That's called virtual twinning. This is one example of how you can use these streams of data and artificial intelligence to make a company better for the future, save tens of millions while being charged a couple of million, and be happy to spend that money forever. Because once you've got that peak system in place, now you can move forward and focus on other things that are important to your business. I love Versus because of this. I think if you didn't have these people, you'd be saying, well, there's promise here, but let's see them deliver. They've already delivered large-scale clients that by virtue of working with those clients, it opens the door to other large-scale clients. Once you've got that first job in a Fortune 500, you're going to get more of them. 3, man, look, open the door. Go and buy something, anything, and see the salesperson telling you, sorry, we're out of stock. That won't be in for another 3 months. Sorry, we have stock, but you know, we've got so few of them that we've doubled the price. It happens every day right now. For the last 6 months, everything is blowing up in price. Everything is difficult to get. Everything's on back order. And it's because of these problems. If a factory in China can't get the chips out to the car company can't run the manufacturing line to get its cars to the dealerships, which means the dealerships are out of cars, which means people are losing their job, revenues are down, customers are annoyed. This is a problem across multiple industries. And so with that in mind, I look at what Versus is doing and say, could this be needed any more than it is right now? Is this not the time in our history when supercharged logistics is could be more in demand than they are right at this moment? If I'm running any sort of manufacturing company, any sort of warehouse, any sort of distribution, I want to make sure that I'm not the problem. I want to make sure that my supply chain is running at its peak so that the only problems come from other people. I want to make sure that I'm not spending money on more people than I need to, that I'm not moving machinery around unnecessarily, that I'm not taking longer to produce something than I really should be. I want to make sure that all my costs are down, all my timelines down, all my expenses are in the best possible place. And Versus is a company that promises to do that. Now, scalability is often a problem in technology companies, right? You got to go out and keep selling, keep selling, keep selling, keep selling, because at the end of every month, you hit so many revenues, and the next month you start from zero. You got to try and get those revenue targets again. You start from zero, get more revenue targets again. This goes on and on. What you want is recurring monthly revenue. So Versus, when they go out and they plug their system into someone else's system, they pull things together, make things better, get that company relying on those new algorithms and those new systems, they never get unplugged. They're getting license fees forever, which means every time they sell something, they sell another thing, they sell another thing. It grows. It's not a constant back and forth like a lot of technology companies. It's a subscription, it's licensing, it's forever. And those big companies they're doing business with, they pay their bills. So they're not chasing. They're not constantly looking at debt. They're just using their time and money to say, company A, now your data works with company B. Mwah, love you. Go forth and multiply. And we doubt any work that they do increases the monthly revenue. I think it's great. I think this is a technology that its time has come. The fact that it's difficult to explain, I don't give a shit. Take the time, understand it, understand that these guys will get a percentage of everybody else's deal by doing work one time. It's a magnificent thing. It's what technology companies were built for. And the promise of the metaverse, well, this is where really the rubber really hits the road. I don't give a shit about buying a green gun for Call of Duty and having an NFT attached to it. That ain't the promise of Web 3.0. Promise of Web 3.0 is what I'm talking about right here, where the massive amounts of data that Web 2.0 gather can actually start being accessed and functioned in a smart way and presented so that they can be used effectively. That's Web 3.0. Forget crypto. No one's going to use crypto as a means of currency. The technology behind crypto, though, starts to become more interesting, you know. And so I think what we're looking at right now with Versus is a company that it's one of those rare ones where when they roll out, you sort of say, how can I be lucky enough that I got in at this moment in time and not 6 months later when the promise becomes the reality? For me, there's a lot less risk in this tech company than almost any other tech company I've seen IPO, especially in Canada, but North America too. The guys behind it are real guys. If you please find one speech from Rene Gabriel and listen to it on YouTube. Find one presentation from this company and listen to it. Really listen to it. Don't just throw it on in the background while you're doing other things. Really listen to these guys when they talk, and you will understand that this isn't just a little thing that can make you some money as an investor. This could be a massive thing that changes the way corporate world works. That's well over my 30-second pitch, but Hell's bells, man. I'm excited by this one. Goes public Thursday.